this is not your company anymore.
I'm tired of being humble. I'm tired of letting people think they got a chance. The tribal chief is head and shoulders above everybody.
Hey, guys, we're here at the locker room. It's Toss Ring Scandal, a.k.a. KDH. We'll talk about Tony Khan made right decision for Shunning Shane McMahon to run AEW. Is he going to regret turning down Shane McMahon? You guys let me know what you think. Let's get in the locker room and let's talk about it. Get the likes up. Now, we know this is about Shane McMahon and Tony Khan had that meeting back last summer that everybody was speculating what is going on. Well, the thing about it is between Shane McMahon and Tony Khan, there has been an update that was reported by the coach on his podcast that we'll play in a second. The Bombshell new report claims that after meeting AEW President Tony Khan, Shane McMahon was very eager to potentially acquire a financial stake in the company and take charge of creative. Now, he wanted to do a good running. We know that Shane McMahon back then gave a statement saying that him and Tony Khan were connected through a mutual friend. They had a great meeting. They talked about many things after the picture was leaked out. So he gave Tony his props, had 5-year anniversary. Congratulations towards AEW on that. But the thing about it is, since then, we know they had the meeting last summer. They met at a private Arlington airport, and it was a great meeting, though. But the thing about it is, Shane McMahon was seen at the Super Bowl with Vince McMahon, and Tony Khan was also there as well. And we know that, we didn't see them together or anything like that. But it says that according to the coach, it says he has no good authority. Shane McMahon, he asked for the world. He asked for equity in the company. He asked to come in to run the entire show. Now, that ended up as a result of Tony Khan ghosting Shane McMahon. Not so much that Shane ghosted Tony, and that was clarified by the coach. Thing about it was, Shane McMahon, he's trying to find his place. We know that Shane McMahon, he is not in WWE, and he's especially not there now due to the new regime in terms of management. So we know that since he's not in WWE, he wants to find another place in the wrestling world, so he goes to the second highest promotion, which is AEW. Now, we're going to hear what Coach had to say regarding this whole situation here.
And a few months ago, and the reason I bring this up is this is a true story, and nobody's heard this before. And I know you've never heard this, JD. But you remember that picture that surfaced with Shane McMahon meeting with Tony Khan? And there was speculation that he would want to come into AEW. And then all of a sudden, all that talk just went away. Well, I have it on good authority that Shane McMahon asked for the world. He asked for equity in the company. And he asked to come in and run the entire show. And it was probably the first time that I said to myself, I actually agree with Tony Khan ghosting him. Because Tony ghosted Shane. It wasn't the other way around. And the fact that Shane was at the Super Bowl with his dad, it's like he can't figure out what he wants to do. But if that is the case, I would have thought that the struggles they were in and all this kind of stuff, JD, that bringing in Shane would have been cool. But it also spoke to me of why Vince never let Shane run any more than what he did when they were in the WWE. But if Shane is asking for that, he'll never come back in any capacity in any wrestling company. And I know it pisses him off that his sister just got a TV show with ESPN. Do you think that Shane would help or could help if they brought him in an authoritative manner right now?
Yes, I do. Just based on the name value alone. I have said many times before, I honestly think Tony should step away from a lot of different positions that he's in right now and just be the guy that signs the paychecks. And that's basically it. Tony needs to hire a head booker. Tony needs to hire creative writers that write cohesive week-to-week television that keep the fans engaged, which right now they're not doing at all outside of maybe 1 or 2 different programs. It's Tony Storm with the Women's Championship. And right now they got MJF and Adam Page who are embarking on a great storyline that, in my honest opinion, is the most important storyline the company's got going on right now. He needs to hire writers and he needs to step away from basically everything that you see on television, but he won't. because I genuinely feel Tony likes that position. I feel like that's something he's wanted to do for basically his entire life. It gives him meaning, and I feel like the power that comes along with it, he loves that, and it's very difficult to give it up. And I feel like if they gave it to Shane, then the fan base is going to revolt and say, well, this is not the AEW that we signed up for. You're giving everything that we fell in love with to a McMahon, and that's going to go against the entire mission statement. So I don't know if the picture that we saw was basically a feeler type of picture for the fans to see, well, if this guy comes in, here are the pros and cons. There were more cons than pros, and Tony said, I'm going to embark on this possibility, and just killed it. But I think he would absolutely bring interest to the product, where right now there's none.
I do too.
Now that was the coach, and his guest was JD from New York, very popular podcaster in the wrestling world. Now they talked about how Shane McMahon was ghosted by Tony Khan and how Shane wanted to run the company. But we know Tony Khan. Tony Khan is wanting no one touching his company. He wants no part of that. And we know that, as we've seen, as the VPs of Nick Jackson and Matt Jackson, known as the Young Bucks, and Kenny Omega, we don't see them around like we used to. And I believe that he told them that, had them scale back and say, I'm running everything. So if he did that to his own VPs who helped jumpstart AEW, he's not going to let an outsider, with the name of Shane McMahon of all names, do that. Now, could Shane McMahon have some value with the namesake alone and help out the company? Yes. But at the end of the day, Shane could turn that a great opportunity. It could turn to a disaster. I can see it right now. It could be creative differences between Tony and Shane. One could have one vision of what direction the company should go, and the other one could have another vision of direction where the company could go. So it could be a disaster. It will only work if both guys are on the same page. And Tony, like I said, I know he recently, they asked him, would he ever go public? Would AEW, All Elite Wrestling, ever go public? He said, no, I don't want us to go public. I want this to be a family company, keeping the family, because Tony said himself he plans on having children one day, and he wants to pass it down to them. But let's see what else Coach and JD had to say regarding this whole Shane McMahon situation here.
And I think to hit on where the fan base, sometimes we get caught up, JD, in this wrestling bubble, right? Where we think that everybody is paying attention to what we do. I think Tony Khan is that guy that he sees what are they getting, 300,000 to 500,000 a week watching their show. That's nothing in the whole scheme of things. And to piss off a smaller part, or the few people that tweet on Twitter like, to get a bigger audience, because that would be front page news on TMZ. It'd be like Shane going against the Triple H. We know that Triple H and Shane do not get along. When I was there, it was ugly, JD. Shane came and went during my time in the WWE a couple of different times, and he said famously, there's one too many McMahons in the company, meaning Triple H with his dad and with Stephanie. I think sometimes when you're a narcissistic owner like Vince was, and like Tony Khan clearly is, that the hardest thing to do is have somebody, because we've seen who he's put next to him, somebody that nobody knew, but somebody that pumps him up and says, yeah, Tony, you're the guy. And then you can't have talent also becoming vice presidents of the company. I was there when Triple H did it. You remember, JD, no talent ever set in on production meetings when we would go over Raw and SmackDown. Then all of a sudden, Triple H started walking in one day in suits and ties, just like Vince. And then what happened? He alienated himself from all the top guys, because you're going to put yourself over. Yeah. Right? Every single time you're going to put yourself over. So Tony needs to understand that. You can't be best friends with your talent, and you need a buffer. And man, Shane McMahon would be an amazing, amazing buffer. The other part of this, JD, is you mentioned MJF. I've said for years that if there was one guy that if he left AEW and went to WWE would be a gigantic star, it would be MJF. And I also don't understand.
Coach, he also talks about while Shane was in WWE, him and Triple H did not get along very well. They didn't always see eye to eye. And of course, Tony Khan, he is getting okay viewership and it's known in the AEW shows, but it could be a little bit better, considering that they're the second biggest promotion and all the hype and all the attention that AEW has garnered on themselves. Now, Shane McMahon, I do know when he did have his fall on WWE, his last time, he had a big blowout. It was at the Royal Rumble 2022. People was upset how he booked himself and how he was the producer of the Men's Royal Rumble. They said it went so far as Shane McMahon was trying to book himself to even win the Royal Rumble or even be one of the final 2 or 3 in the Royal Rumble. So it got real crazy. I know he got into it with Jamie Noble. Reportedly, Shane McMahon had buried him back at that time. So he was sent home by Vince McMahon during that time. But Shane McMahon, he definitely needs to do something different. And I believe Shane McMahon's at the point in his life. He's been in the wrestling business his whole life. He's been in WWE. He started from the bottom. Now, he did leave back in 2009 to start a company. But I think that's what he needs to do at this point in his life. He needs to start a new company, wrestling, whatever he needs to do. Because we do know that Shane is bad because, when he was let go, sent home, he was supposed to be at WrestleMania 38. And he last was seen at WrestleMania 39 where he tore his quad. And they had to improvise with Miz, Snoop Dogg, and they was all in the ring. But Shane McMahon, I don't think he needs to work for anybody at this point anymore. He needs to do his own thing.
Lots of things that I wanted to do. I was able to take some time off. I was able to build some businesses. But one thing's for sure.
Now, yes, he did go to help start a business. It was back in China. He started the You On Demand. He helped start that video on demand company back in late 2000s. Now, I know he was there for a while, but an announcement has said that he had stepped down as CEO back in September 2013. It said that he was going to step down from there. Someone else is going to be appointed in that position. But Shane McMahon will still be chairman of the company. I should say serve as the principal executive officer and chairman of the board. And I know You On Demand, that was something he did for a while with other people in China. Didn't work out too well, I believe. I don't know what's the state of that company right now, but that was before he came back to WWE in 2016. But Shane McMahon, he has too much experience in the wrestling business, and him to be under someone, whether it's Vince McMahon or Triple H or Tony Khan, is going to create a gulf between them, no matter what company he goes to, because Shane, he can run his own company now. He has the experience. He obviously has the money. He can do that. It's just how he goes about it. He does not need to be working with Tony Khan, because we already know in the wrestling business, in all business, these men in the wrestling business, they all have egos. And I think the ego is going to collide and get to the point where it's going to come to his head. And that's where I think it's going to go. So Shane I believe, should start his own company, a wrestling company, or another company, any type of entertainment or sports for that matter. Because Shane definitely has some good ideas. I'll give him that. He also was behind of trying to tell his dad, Vince McMahon, to buy UFC back in 2000s, and Vince said no. So Shane definitely has good ideas. He has creative, but everybody's not going to agree with Shane McMahon's creative ideas. That's the whole issue behind that, and that's where it creates issues between creative and other parts creative or executives. That's where the whole thing lies, and that's where the buck stops right there. Somebody's going to have to go. And in most cases, we saw Shane leave. It was at WWE, and Tony Khan now ghosting him because he does not want nobody running his company. And I believe that's possibly where AEW was going, where they said this is not your company anymore, where John Moxley said that. That possibly was a good possibility that Shane McMahon was going to come and join AEW for whatever position he was going to be in, executive, vice president, whatever it was going to be. But I think that's what Shane should do. He shouldn't try to join another company. No AEW, not WWE, not TNA, not NWA. It's best to start your own thing. So that's how I think that should go. And that's how all I have regarding Tony Khan make right decision for Shunning Shane McMahon to run AEW. Will Tony Khan regret for turning down Shane McMahon? I would say yes and no. Mostly no, to see the way AEW is going. But Tony Khan definitely needs to get some help as far as booking and getting other people to help him out. Don't have to be necessarily Shane McMahon. But you guys comment below. Let me know what you think. Soon, Soon, soon there will be content coming up on the channel. You guys click below. Until then, guys, you already know what it is. It's OUT.